Hello and welcome to the Deck Tech Area with me, Stuart Jackson, and here with Henry Kay and his Mardu Nahiri deck that we've seen on camera a couple of times now. Both times has been on camera and it's been played excellently. I would like to talk to us a bit about what your deck's doing, the specific cards in your deck that are important, and why you chose this deck today.
Yeah, it's the thing that I like about it mainly is that it's a mid-range deck with a combo finish, which is like exactly what I like to play. Where rather than like a standard combo deck that's maybe all in on the combo, or a combo control deck that's like trying to prevent your opponent from doing anything and then slam the combo in the end, then it's more about like you apply pressure to your opponent first, and then when they're out of answers or they're out of removal spells or they don't have any counter spells or anything else, then you slam your combo and finish them then. So it's more proactive than like Jeskai Nahiri, say.
Nahiri is a very unique threat in the format as well because of how versatile it is. So we saw it when it was on camera, exiling ghostly prisons and all that kind of stuff, because not only can it kill your opponent, also protect your combo as well.
Yeah, one of the disadvantages of not being in green in the format is that you don't get Abrupt Decay, which means that you don't have as many catch-all answers to things. But by playing Nahiri, you can get rid of enchantments, and Kolagun's command can get rid of artifacts. So most of the big problem threats in the format that aren't just creatures you can kill with your standard removal spells, you have a way of getting around anyway, even if they're not in the same card.
So what made you pick this specific deck today? What were you expecting to face? What did you feel like you had a good matchup against that you were expecting to see in the metagame today?
One of the things that's specific to Modern, maybe more so than Legacy, is that there aren't quite so many combo decks that don't revolve around creatures, which means that you can afford to play like removal spells as your main interaction with your opponent. I went for the Nahiri deck specifically because it doesn't really because you can be proactive with it, and at the same time you can sort of change gears very quickly because you can play Lightning Bolt and Lightning Helix and everything else like that, so that if you want to, or if you need to, you can use Lingering Souls and Bitter Blossom and so on to apply pressure to your opponent and then finish them off with bolts and not even bother like trying to go for Emrakul anyway. So you don't have to tap out or anything like that. But at the same time, you can still deal with the control decks, which seem to be pretty like. I figured that since recently, a few of the more combo-ish decks have gotten weaker, then I expect people to be playing more control decks, and Phyrexian Weaver and Bitter Blossom are both amazing against them.
Yeah, we saw both of those cards on camera be very, very excellent against control, and you won both games 2-0. Both opponents didn't look like they really stood much of a chance in both of those games, and we can see why you've put those specific cards up there in the deck area today, because we have evidence of how powerful they are in the deck. Was there anything you were hoping to not play against today?
I don't think the deck has a particularly good matchup against aggressive combo decks like, say, the Phyrexian Unlife Ad Nauseam deck or Bogles, because most of the removal is targeted. I am playing a couple of copies of Blessed Alliance main deck, partially because I need to gain some life because of all my stuff that deals damage to me, but also like it's untargeted removal, so it's pretty handy. I'm not playing any sweepers because I'm going wide myself, so it's not really very very reliable. A lot of the time they're pretty awkward for the deck. So instead I'm relying more on spot removal, which means that decks that like play untargetable threats or that play lots and lots of creatures, like I imagine something like Black-White Tokens would probably be a pretty bad matchup as well.
Well, it looks like you're very close to being locked for top eight at this point. Looks like one more win probably guarantees you into top eight, and you're playing Nyxvit in Legacy, which is a really sweet deck. And I've seen many people have all their lands destroyed in previous tournaments and today, so it looks like that's going well for you. It looks like in general, you like to play kind of mid-rangey decks with a combo finish. We see that both in your Legacy and Modern choices today. Is there anything, the printing of Fatal Push has also changed the landscape of Modern at all? Do you think the way Fatal Push has changed Modern and the way it has an impact in your deck has made your deck better for the format?
I think that's probably true. I think also the banning of Gitaxian Probe made a lot of difference as well. But the printing of Fatal Push means that people aren't playing as much like all-in combo like Death Shadow aggro or something along the lines of Infect is the other one that probably does it. So both of those don't really like Fatal Push very much at all, which means that there's more decks where I can afford to make Bitter Blossom on turn 2 and not immediately die. Because if your opponent has, say, a Inkmoth Nexus on the battlefield, then you pretty much can never tap out against Infect, or like you might just get 10 poison counters next turn and disappear immediately. So it's much safer now to play slightly slower decks. You still need quite a lot of interaction in your deck, or you're just going to get run over. But once you've got that interaction, then maybe like if your opponent's not got any non-land permanents on the board right now, and they've like passed turn or after you've each played one turn of the game, you can probably afford to make a threat like a card that's going to get you incremental advantage, like Bitter Blossom, Phyrexian Arena, Nahiri, all of these. Right now in the format, you can actually afford to tap out if your opponent doesn't have anything, which previously was maybe a bit less commonly something you could do without getting punished for it.
So your sideboard is very, very slick and lean today, in 4 copies of Fulminator Mage, 4 copies of Surgical, 3 Kitchen Finks, 3 Tidal Scholars and a Colligan's Command. So what were you bringing? What kind of matchups are you bringing in each of those cards against?
Well, the Kitchen Finks are there for aggro decks, mainly because I need something I can take out Phyrexian Arena for, because that card is really not something you want to be playing if your opponent's going to be trying to kill you on turn 4. Then the Fulminator Mages and Surgical Extractions are there for miscellaneous combo decks. So Fulminator Mage helps a lot against Tron. It's also quite good against Control sometimes, depending on the deck. It's also good for killing Inkmoth Nexuses. And then Surgical Extraction, again, against Tron. If you can kill their land and then extract it, then they're in a pretty bad position. Also, a lot of the combo decks in the format use the graveyard. So, for example, the Storm deck often uses Past and Flames to actually go off. Gifts Ungiven.
So they've seen the new Gift of the Storm deck with Baral, which takes advantage of the cost reduction effect, the extra 4 cost reduction effects, and using Past and Flames in the graveyard. So Surgical has an application there. What about the Tidal Scholars?
They're there sort of as a for basically anything that's not running any removal, which usually means it's a combo deck, because it's a discard spell. The important thing is that it's a discard spell that hits anything. So Inquisition of Kozilek doesn't work against things with large converted mana cost. Tidal Scholar can take anything, which means that it's a bit more reliable against something like Tron again. And it's also good for Ad Nauseam and other combo decks like that. The important thing is that if your opponent isn't playing removal, then it's just a discard spell attached to a 2/2, which means that you can apply pressure with it, and it also interacts.
It's just a natural 2-for-1 as well.
Yeah, most of the cards in the deck, most of them trade 1-for-1 if they're interacting, and most of the time you can't. There aren't that many other cards in the format that really let you take a card, like stop your opponent from going off in some manner, and also apply pressure. So Tidal Scholar is quite nice there. The other option is Thoughtseize in that slot, but the problem with Thoughtseize is that my deck already does quite a lot of damage to itself. So I can't really afford to be playing Thoughtseize as well. Definitely not in the main deck anyway.
Yeah, we saw you against Sam a couple of rounds ago, almost dying to your own Bitter Blossom and Phyrexian Arena after I remember spell snaring your Blessed Alliance for gaining 4 life, which was an interesting play, but you beat them you won that game in the end anyway. But it's obviously the life loss is definitely a consideration, and I can see why you would choose Tidal Scholar in that slot. And then lastly, there's a Colligan's Command there as well.
That's mainly just there because against control decks you want more 2-for-1s. It's also great against Affinity. It's very good against Affinity. And it's also a concession to Lanterns, which is one of the scarier decks in the format right now, even if it doesn't actually see that much play. I just played against it and lost last round. Originally, I was hoping to put a Rekindle Flame in that slot, which is particularly good against Lanterns, but does absolutely nothing anywhere else.
Can you just explain for the viewers at home what Rekindle Flame does?
It's a 4-mana sorcery that says it deals 4 damage to a creature or player for 2 colors and 2 red, and then at the beginning of your upkeep, if an opponent has no cards in hand, it returns itself from your graveyard to your hand. So if they put it into your graveyard with any of their Goo Caller's Bell or any of their other spells that mill you, then it will come back into your upkeep unless they have cards in their hand. But if they have cards in their hand, then you can attack them through Ensnaring Bridge. So it puts them into a lose-lose situation where either way they're probably in a whole lot of trouble.
So basically their only real answer is either their Surgical Extractions or Pixies of Pandemonium, so you've only got to miss 3 cards in their deck and then the card wins the game on its own.
Yeah, there is the slight problem that the deck sometimes has where, especially against Lanterns, because you're stuck unable to attack for quite a lot of the time, if you've been trying to apply pressure early in the game with Phyrexian Arena and Bitter Blossom, then they can also just sort of try and lock you out and then just wait for you to kill yourself, which is also pretty risky. So basically, it puts them on a clock where they have to do something to proactively kill you before they fall over to your spells. Ghirapur, Ether Grid and that sort of stuff is probably their best plan against it. Just putting them into a race, but racing is not where Lanterns want to be in general, so you're probably pretty happy to see it in general. Problem is, it's terrible everywhere else.
It really is a card for a very specific matchup. I know I've sleeved up a few very, very narrow cards in my time playing Modern, but no, excellent. The deck has looked very powerful today, full of very powerful cards and powerful interactions. Where have you come from today as well? I have interest.
I've come across from Stockport in Manchester. I play Legacy at Fanboy 3 sometimes. To be honest, I haven't. And there's also the Element Games Stockport, which hosts Standard. But fortunately, generally I play Legacy at Fanboy because it's just a starting up community at Element Games. So I don't really have a local game store that's right around the corner that I can play Legacy at, but I do go down there quite frequently. So that's my home game store.
How did you qualify for today?
I qualified in, I believe, March or February last year, or one of the early Invitational, one of the early qualifiers, which was actually here at IQ Games, where I was playing Scapeshift Nickfit at the time, I believe.
Dual caster mage, and what's the copy effect from Theros block?
I believe it's called Twin Flame.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, Dual caster mage was really good at the time. It's actually a card that I was playing for a while because it was very good against Dig Through Time and Treasure Cruise. While all like combo decks and stuff love drawing 3 cards, when all the cards in your deck are basically either lands or haymakers, drawing 3 is excellent. It's the same reason Painful Truth is good in the Nickfit deck. It's because you like getting cards off of copying your opponent's Dig Through Time probably means that you just win the game. It's also quite good against copying your opponent's things like natural orders and other like very powerful cards that your opponent puts on the table. It can be really, really strong.
But you've gone for the enchantment-based Nyx fit today, which we didn't get to see on camera, unfortunately. The deck is very, very cool, involving blowing up all your opponent's lands with Living Plane and Doomwake Giant. How did you finish up with the Legacy today?
I went 3-1 in the Legacy. I lost my first round to Death and Taxes. I beat Storm, which was sort of surprising. It's probably a bad matchup, but Spirit of the Labyrinth is an amazing card. And then I beat something that I've forgotten. I beat Death and Taxes again. And I played against 4-color Loam. So I'm pretty sure I used Doomwake Giant to kill all my opponent's lands 5 times.
I like that. That's very good.
Oh, I used it 4 times, and I used Curse of Death's Hold to do the same thing once.
Well, it's like pairings are going up for the next round. I'm not sure where. So we're going to go to a quick break here. So I'm going to sign off here as from Stuart Jackson with Henry K in the deck tech area with Mardu Nahiri in Modern and Nyx Fit in Legacy. Currently record is...
I'm 5-2.
Currently 5-2, so probably a draw or a win into top 8 from here. So an excellent result so far for Henry, and best of luck to you for the rest of the tournament. And we're going to a break now.